Have you ever met someone who barely talks, yet somehow makes everyone around them nervous? They're not aggressive. They're not trying to dominate the room. In fact, most introverts are just quietly minding their own business. And yet, people still describe them as intimidating. What's interesting is that introverts usually don't even realize they're doing it, because from their perspective, they're simply being quiet, observant, or reserved. But psychologically, certain introverted traits can unintentionally create a very powerful presence. And once you understand why, a lot of social situations suddenly start making sense. The first reason is silence. Most people are uncomfortable with silence. In conversations, people constantly fill empty space with words, reactions, small talk, or nervous energy. But introverts usually don't feel the same pressure to speak immediately. They pause, they think before responding. Sometimes they simply observe quietly without trying to control the conversation. And surprisingly, that calm silence can make other people nervous. Because psychologically, humans are constantly trying to read social feedback. We look for reactions, validation, or reassurance. But quiet people reveal very little. And when people can't easily read someone, the brain starts filling in the blanks on its own. That's why silence often gets mistaken for confidence, judgment, mystery, or emotional distance, even when none of those are actually true. The second reason is emotional control. A lot of introverts don't react dramatically in social situations. They usually process things internally first. So while other people immediately express excitement, anger, nervousness, or frustration outwardly, introverts often stay calm on the surface. And to some people, emotional calmness feels intimidating. Because most humans unconsciously trust predictability. We feel safer around people whose emotions are obvious and easy to understand. But someone who stays composed under pressure can feel difficult to emotionally figure out, especially in emotionally reactive environments. The third reason is observation. Introverts are often highly observant without realizing it. They notice tone changes, body language, awkward pauses, fake enthusiasm, shifts in energy during conversations. And because they spend more time observing than constantly speaking, people sometimes feel unusually seen around them, even if the introvert never says anything. Psychology shows that people naturally become more self-conscious when they feel deeply observed. That's why quiet people sometimes make others nervous without doing anything at all. The fourth reason is independence. Introverts are often comfortable being alone. And in a world where many people constantly seek attention, approval, or social validation, emotional independence stands out immediately. People who don't desperately need attention often appear more confident than they actually feel internally, because they aren't constantly trying to impress everyone around them. Ironically, this can make introverts seem more emotionally stronger, more secure, or harder to influence, even when they're simply protecting their peace. The fifth reason is selective energy. Most introverts don't give the same energy to everyone. They usually open up slowly. They become expressive around people they genuinely trust, and they tend to avoid forced social behavior. But psychologically, people are drawn toward approval and attention. So when someone stays emotionally reserved, others start trying harder to gain their validation. And the less the introvert tries to impress people, the more psychologically intriguing they sometimes become. The sixth reason is that introverts usually think before they speak. A lot of people speak while thinking. Introverts often think before speaking, which means when they finally say something, it's usually intentional. And because of that, their words often carry more weight socially. People naturally pay more attention to someone who speaks less but says meaningful things. Psychologists sometimes call this the scarcity effect. When something becomes less frequent, people unconsciously value it more. And finally, the biggest reason introverts unintentionally intimidate people is this. They don't constantly perform for social acceptance. A lot of social interaction is actually performance. People laugh politely, pretend to agree, act more confident than they feel, adjust their personality depending on the group around them. But introverts are often less motivated by social performance. They usually prefer authenticity over constant approval. And while that honesty can feel refreshing to some people, it can also feel uncomfortable to others who are used to more predictable social behavior. Now, obviously, not every introvert is intimidating. Some are shy, some are anxious, some struggle socially just like anyone else. But psychology suggests that quietness, emotional control, observation, and independence often create a presence that people subconsciously interpret as powerful, even when the introvert never intended it that way. And honestly, that's probably the most misunderstood thing about introverts. Most of them are not trying to intimidate anyone. They're simply less interested in competing for attention. They don't need to dominate every conversation, they don't need constant validation, and they don't always feel the need to explain themselves to everyone around them. But in a loud world, quiet confidence naturally stands out. And sometimes people confuse that quietness with intimidation. If you enjoy understanding the deeper psychology behind human behavior, subscribe for more videos like this.